We bring you the morning edition of MBC News with me, Upile Kaisa. Our top stories.
President Chakwera challenges the United Nations to support least developed countries so that they realize their aspirations for the future. The African Development Bank gives Malawi approximately 95 billion kwacha for development. A latest economic review report from the Reserve Bank of Malawi indicates that Malawi has slightly narrowed its trade deficit.
And now the news in detail. President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera has challenged the United Nations to continue supporting least developed countries so that they realize their aspirations for the future. Dr. Chakwera was speaking during the Summit for the Future meeting aimed at pushing for the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. And from New York, Maisochi Kadzula has the details in this report.
The Malawi leader started his presentation with a call to action in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) by urging developing countries to do more in supporting financially the least developing countries, including Malawi. He said most of the things the assembly is tackling cannot be achieved if there is lack of financial support. The Malawi leader explained that SDGs are unattainable without sustainable financing. Dr. Chakwera reiterated the need of making some reforms at the UN for the betterment of the member states.
The old men and women in this assembly have what it takes to build solutions for a future that is not ours to inherit. This summit of the future is not about us, but about the next generation and their children, and we must make this pact of the future without rigging it with the prejudices of yesterday and the conflicts of today. Let me be blunt, Mr. President. Sustainable development is untenable without sustainable financing. As such, I call for urgency in remodeling development financing. I call for financing facilities that are more robust, inclusive, and humane. I call for financing that will categorize global development in developing countries, because the underdevelopment of LDCs is a drain on the potential of the Global South and the Global North alike. What this means is we must shift from the mere provision of aid to the cultivation of self-sufficiency through robust private sector engagement.
For his part, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasized the importance of reforming and revitalizing multisectorism to tackle global challenges. The UN Secretary General highlighted the need for international solutions to address challenges such as sustainable development, conflicts, inequality, poverty, climate change, and new technologies.
It is of today's global economy and is no longer able to resolve economic challenges, debt, climate action, sustainable development. It does not provide the global safety net that developing countries need. Meanwhile, technology, geopolitics, and globalization have transformed power relations. Our world is going through a time and turbulence and a period of transition. But we cannot wait for perfect conditions. We must take the first decisive steps towards updating and reforming international cooperation and make it more networked, more fair, and more inclusive now.
The high-level event, Summit for the Future, brought together world leaders to forge a new international consensus on how to deliver a better present and safeguard the future. Maisochi Kadzula, MBC News, New York, USA.
Dr. Lazarus Chakwera has told potential investors in the United States of America that his country is the best investment destination under his watch, as it is offering competitive investors tax and non-tax incentive packages. President Chakwera was speaking in New York during a second edition of the Malawi Partners Conference held on the sidelines of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly. Maisochi Kadzula has the details in this report.
Addressing a cross-section of potential investors, President Chakwera said Malawi boasts of 5.3 million hectares of arable land, representing 45% of its total land area, adding that the country has abundant water resources including Lake Malawi, Africa's third largest freshwater lake, coupled with several major river systems. President Chakwera also told there would be investors that Malawi had access to a market of over 100 million people in the SADC and COMESA region, adding that the country also has visionary, stable, democratic political leadership, which are all key to creating an enabling environment for public and private funding and investment in an open economy.
Malawi's journey toward transformation is guided by the Malawi 2063 vision, which is our long-term national development plan. This vision aims to elevate Malawi to an upper middle income economy by 2063. The vision aligns very well with well-meaning regional, continental, and global instruments, including the SADC Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan, Agenda 2063 of the African Union, and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, of the United Nations. Central to the Malawi 2063 vision is Malawi's commitment to enhancing agricultural productivity and commercialization, which is an essential pillar for our nation's future prosperity.
Speaking separately, Mozambican President Filipe Nyusi, who attended the conference, echoed his counterpart sentiment by assuring potential investors that Malawi is a land of opportunity, as it is also situated close to Nacala port. He said just like in Malawi, agriculture also plays a critical role in Mozambique and Africa as a whole in terms of providing primary source of livelihood income to the majority of the population.
Coals from Malawi you can export to overseas through Nacala port. This is the deepest port in Mozambique. And also you have a port, Beira port, it's near, connected by railway line. And this is easy. It means that you can 24 hours exporting.
That's right.
Mr. President, first of all, I salute and congratulating you, my dear brother, for the initiative to convene this event.
Of the Malawi Partners Conference was also held in New York, and some of the fruits of the conference include the ongoing construction of the Maguero Industrial Park near Kamuzu International Airport, whose resources were committed by the Afrexim Bank at that time. The 2024 edition of Malawi Partners Conference was held under the theme Securing Our Future, Enhancing Investment in Agriculture for Sustainable Food Security. Maya Soji Kadzula, MBC News, New York, USA.
The African Development Bank has given grants to Malawi worth $54 million, approximately 95 billion kwacha, meant for various development projects. This was announced by the president of the bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, during the Malawi Partners Conference held in New York, United States of America. Details in this report by Maisoji Kadzola.
Dr. Adesina assured Malawi of the bank's continued support towards various development initiatives. He said Malawi has a potential to turn around its economy through food production, as it has enough resources, including Lake Malawi, which is the fourth largest lake in Africa.
I am very happy to let you know that the African Development Bank has just approved an agricultural budget support policy-based operation for you for $23 million to support government actions to avert persistent food insecurity. As I close, I want to say three things about private sector and also farmers. You have a good policy to look at private sector and mega farms, which is more commercial farms, which is good. But I would like to urge that we design and you design farmer-centric, smallholder-centric policies that can get the same smallholder. They did it then. They can do it today.
Minister of Finance Sichwa Labanda said the money is meant for the direct budget support. $23 million has been pumped into the Agriculture Productivity and Commercialization Project APCP, while $1 million is meant for emergency response to procure food for distribution by the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, DODIMA. Chichola Banda said the gesture by the bank simply shows the trust and confidence various international organizations and donor partners have on Dr. Chakwera's leadership in Malawi.
President at the Synod of African Development Bank, who has actually announced this evening that the African Development Bank just yesterday approved 23 million for agriculture, productivity and commercialization project, which is part of the budget support. He has also announced here the additional 1 million meant for procurement of maize, which will be used by Dodima to distribute to people. He has also talked about the 30 million more. What it means is that institutions, banks like African Development Bank, have demonstrated the degree of confidence and trust in the leadership of Dr. Lazarus Macarthur Chakwera and the reform programs that Malawi is undertaking.
President Lazarus Chakwera is in the New York, United States of America, attending the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA. Maestro Jikadzula, MBC News, New York, USA.
First Lady Madam Monica Chakwera has hailed Plan International for its continued support towards shaping our future foundation on girls' education. Madam Chakwera made the remarks when she held an audience with Plan International Chief Strategy and Engagement Officer Kathleen Schwerin on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Madam Chakwera stressed the need for international organizations to continue working with Shaping Our Future Foundation by supporting girls so that they remain in school and finish their tertiary education. She mentioned that there is need for more financial support for Shaping Our Future Foundation to provide annual scholarships for at least 25 students selected into various public universities in Malawi. The Malawi Electoral Commission (MEC) says there is need for stakeholders such as political parties to provide accurate information ahead of the 2025 elections. MEC chairperson Justice Annabel Ntalimanja made the remarks at Mponela in Doha during the review of the pilot voter registration exercise ahead of the national registration exercise, which will commence on 21st October 2024. Margaret Mapando reports.
MEC chairperson Justice Annabel Ntalimanja says misinformation brings challenges not only for MEC but for the citizens of Malawi, hence the need for relevant stakeholders to refrain from providing false information about the upcoming general elections. Justice Ntalimanja said MEC continues to be transparent and engages stakeholders in all the electoral processes to ensure free, fair and credible elections in 2025.
Misinformation is not going to help us from either end, whether it's the media, whether it's our stakeholders, political parties, CSOs, whoever it is. Misinformation is not going to help us, and I'm hoping that moving forward, as we engage with our stakeholders, as we provide the information, that is the information that is going to be disseminated to the citizens.
Malawi is expected to hold tripartite elections in September 2025. Margaret Mabando, MBC News, Mponela.
Remember, you are watching the morning edition of MBC News with me, Ubile Kaisa. You can access all MBC digital platforms by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen, or get the latest news by subscribing to our SMS services by dialing *364#. A reminder of our top stories.
President Chakwera challenges the United Nations to support least developed countries so that they realize their aspirations for the future. The African Development Bank gives Malawi approximately 95 billion kwacha for development. A latest economic review report from the Reserve Bank of Malawi indicates that Malawi has slightly narrowed its trade deficit.
Welcome back. The judiciary has signed an agreement with the Malawi Broadcasting Corporation to have court programs aired on MBC platforms. The signing ceremony took place at the Supreme Court of Appeal premises at Chichiri in Blantyre. The MOU will see Malawi judiciary using MBC's platforms to transmit different messages through a program called Kotila 2. Chief Justice Rezin Mzikamanda said the aim is to promote open justice and enlighten the populace legal proceedings and encourage people to utilize the courts.
We are truly committed because now we believe in open justice. And like I said, it is a global thing. It's not like we are starting it in Malawi. It's a global thing, and we want to go with a global trend. The global trend is that we should open up the judiciaries and that we should have open justice for all. Like I also indicated, there are processes that are taking this matter, even as far as the United Nations. So we don't want to lag behind. We want to move with the times, and we can commit ourselves to saying that the people of Malawi will see a transformed judiciary going forward.
Director of Engineering for MBC, Aidan Gumeni, speaking after signing the agreement, said MBC is excited to be among institutions entrusted with the role to strengthen the rule of law in the country.
We are looking at the challenges that have been always there. You may call our mandate as MBCs to inform, entertain, and educate. And if you look at the three arms of the government, executive, legislature, and judiciary, we've been doing well with the other two, but not with the judiciary. So through the communication strategy that the High Court, the Malawi judiciary were developing, I think they have emphasized on the communication and looked at the MBC as a partner to take whatever the processes that goes around with the court to the masses.
Commentators have expressed concern over remarks by Democratic Progressive Party President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika that he would build a house in the north once voted into power. Human rights activist Undule Mwakasungula has described the sentiment as cheap politics and nothing worthy taking serious. More in this report by Grant Muhango.
During a political rally held in Mzuzu, Democratic Progressive Party DPP President Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika, who is also former president, told the gathering that once voted into office, he would buy or build a house in the north and stay there.
In 2018-2019, I asked Honorable Grace Jumia MP, with a Pezema Okuno, I was planning to build a house here in Mzuzu. Unfortunately, that was Mboma when I was planning to Gulema Okuno. But I want to show you for 17 September next year.
Reacting to the remarks, human rights advocate Undule Mwakasungula said it is unfortunate that the remarks are coming from a former president.
The sentiments by Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika that he will build in the north once he's voted in, taking the people from the north for granted, that they can go for any promise, any lie, because Peter Mutharika has been a minister, has been a president of this country, and he has not invested in the north, he has not built in the north. How are the people from the north to believe him now? That once he's voted in, then he's going to settle and build in the north. Maybe he might have been promising that out of excitement, but I don't believe those sentiments were genuine.
Government spokesperson Moses Kunkuyu, who is also Minister of Information and Digitalization, called upon political leaders vying for high office to avoid kickbacks for them to love people from a particular area.
To say, I am going to love you only if you do this to me. If you vote for me, then I can love you people of the north. I can only build a house in the north if you vote for me. I can only be amongst you, I can be one of you northerners only if you vote for me. That is not a statement that should be coming from a leader. Something to me. Give me a position, give me a vote, then I can be one of you. If you don't give me a vote, I am not one of you. I am not part of you northerners if you don't give me a vote. That is the message that he is giving us.
The Democratic Progressive Party DPP spokesperson was not immediately available to comment on the matter.
Moving on to business, a latest economic review report from the Reserve Bank of Malawi has shown that Malawi has slightly narrowed its trade deficit. Trade deficit is when a country's imports exceed its exports by a certain margin. Erlene Chimoyo has more in this report.
The July RBM Economic Review report shows that the trade deficit has gone down from $232.8 million in June to $217.7 million in the month under review. This has been attributed to a $27.8 million increase in exports, representing 49%, which has managed to offset a 4.4% increase in imports during the same period. So far, the increased exports are emanating from high earnings from tobacco, horses, and wood. Various economists have continued to push for increased production for the export market as key in improving the local economy. Government is currently championing the ATM strategy, which aims at leveraging agriculture, tourism, and mining to grow the economy through import substitution and increased exports. Erlene Chimoyo, MBC News, Blantyre.
Secretary to the Treasury Bechani Chereni says the implementation of the Revenue Appeals Tribunal is key to a vibrant economy. Chereni was speaking in Blantyre during the swearing-in ceremony of the Revenue Appeals Tribunal and Judicial Research Officers. The tribunal will be hearing tax-related appeals in the country. Justin Nkweu has more in this report.
According to Chereni, the first benefit of the tribunal is that taxation cases will be expedited to the interest of both the taxpayer and tax collector. He said the other benefit is that the country will be investor-friendly because investors will now be aware that the country has strong taxation systems. He therefore described the tribunal as the right step towards improving revenue collection systems.
Without the tribunal, you end up not collecting revenues in time. There's no efficiency. So you can't have an MRA, which is also a judge. You can't have an MRA, which is being complained about, insisting on collecting certain taxes, but then people also not willing to pay those taxes. So the coming in of the tribunal is very important, because then it means that such cases are going to be determined with efficiency, and then that efficient determination is going to give us the much needed revenue.
Economics Association of Malawi, ECAMA, has described the tribunal as a huge and right structure for the economy. Betha Jigaza is the ECAMA president.
The expectation of ECAMA is that we might see some improvement in terms of tax revenue correction, because we've been complaining about tax leakage, we've been complaining about cases of taxes maybe being stuck in the judiciary, but probably also we've seen that a lot of taxes is being paid by low-income earners, or those people who do not have enough money maybe to get their way into the judicial system and pay all the charges that maybe lawyers tend to charge. So the Revenue Tribunal might provide that platform that was not accessible to these people who pay taxes, but they don't have enough money to pay for justice.
Chief Justice Rezin Mzikamanda urged the officers to ensure that the law reigns supreme in executing their duties. He also urged them to act with speed on cases, emphasizing that the country needs to move. Josta Gisale has been sworn in as the chairperson of the tribunal, and he pledges professionalism.
We know there is a lot that is expected from us as the first tribunal. We would like to assure the public that we will do all that we can to be fair, to be impartial in our rulings and determinations, as we discharge the statutory mandate that has been entrusted upon us by the Revenue Appeals Tribunal Act.
The tribunal was established in 2021 by an Act of Parliament, and it will be hearing appeals under Taxation Act, Tax Administration Act, Customs and Excise Tax Act, Value Added Tax Act, and any other tax laws that may be enacted from time to time. Justin Nkweu, MBC News, Blantyre.
The Chewa Heritage Foundation, CHEFO, has called for all school-going children to be given the opportunity to receive quality education, enabling them to become responsible citizens. Lyson Banda, Director of Chiefs and Traditional Dances at CHEFO, made the remarks at Mseteka Primary School in Traditional Authority Ntema in Lilongwe during an awareness meeting with traditional leaders and parents on the importance of sending children to school. MacDonald Chiwayula reports.
Addressing the gathering, Director of Chiefs and Traditional Dances at Chewa Heritage Foundation, Lyson Banda, emphasized that children and youth must be given access to quality education to become responsible citizens and future leaders who can make informed decisions. He noted that even Kalonga Gawaundi, the leader of all Chewas, has encouraged chiefs across the country to ensure that children and youth are receiving the best possible education.
You know, our king, His Majesty Kalonga Gawaundi, encourages us that when we go into villages, we have to encourage parents to send their children to school. A tribe with no people who are educated, it will always be behind things. They will be coming behind the scenes. They can't know what is going on. They can't know how to develop. So we are encouraging the people here that they should send their children.
In his remarks, Chairperson of CHEFO Youth in the Central Region, Frederick Chisepea, highlighted that the youth are not just leaders of tomorrow, but need to be educated and exercise their leadership skills in the present.
We as the youth, we are the example. We are the leaders today. Like, for example, myself, I'm also a leader in the organization where I am working. So I couldn't reach to that level that I'm a leader, and even leading the youth for the Chewas in Central Region in Malawi without having that leadership skill. That leadership skill came because I went to school. So the same skills that we have, we need also to trickle down that to the youth that we have today.
Traditional Authority Ntema, one of the chiefs at the ceremony, echoed Kalonga Gawaundi's sentiments, stressing that youth must have access to education without facing challenges. He warned that uneducated youth will struggle to compete in various fields. He also shared his experience from a visit to Kenya, where he observed the rapid pace of global advancements, underscoring that education is key to keeping up with the developments. During the ceremony, learners at Mseteka Primary School received notebooks, pens, clothes, and other school essentials, in addition to being inspired by motivational messages from various role models. MacDonald Chiwayula, MPC News, Lilongwe.
Political parties have been advised to avoid using the death of late Vice President Dr. Saulos Chilima for political gains. Malawi Congress Party Secretary General Richard Chimondo Banda said this at Baka Community Ground during a political rally organized by the party's Vice President, Catherine Kotani Hara. More in this report by Grant Muhango. We apologize for we are unable to give you the report at the moment. And now we've come to the end of this edition of MPC News. A reminder of our top stories before we leave.
President Chakwera challenges the United Nations to support least developed countries so that they realize their aspirations for the future. The African Development Bank gives Malawi approximately 95 billion kwacha for development. A latest economic review report from the Reserve Bank of Malawi indicates that Malawi has slightly narrowed its trade deficit.
You can access all MPC digital platforms by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your TV screen, or get the latest news by subscribing to our SMS services by dialing *364#. I am Opile Kaisa. Thanks for watching. Good morning.